Mangalachan prayer.
Okay, no problem, Prabhu. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjala Shalakaya Chakshuru Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadanti Sva Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raguna Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijanam Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalitam Shri Vitam Kampitam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tap tap kanchana gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshware Vrisabhanu Sutu Devi Pranamari Hare Priye Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhu bhavevacha paditanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Praschata Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Haribol. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
This is Prabhu. I'm changing my tune now. Like I'm looking at myself like, huh?
Yes, very nice, Prabhu. Okay, so today we read chapter 13, The Stealing of Boys and Calls by Brahma. Sukadev Goswami was very much encouraged when Maharaj Parikshit asked him why the cowherd boys did not discuss the death of Agasura after 1 year had passed. Only after one year had passed. He explained thus, My dear king, you are making the subject of the transcendental pastime of Krishna fresher by your inquisitiveness. It is said that it is the nature of a devotee to constantly apply his mind, energy, words, ears, etc. in hearing and chanting about Krishna. This is called Krishna consciousness, and for one who is wrapped in hearing and chanting Krishna, the subject matter never becomes hackneyed or old. That is the significance of transcendental subject matter in contrast to material subject matter. Material subject matter becomes stale, and one cannot hear a certain subject for a long time. He wants change. But as far as transcendental subject matter is concerned, it is called nit, nityanavana. What is this? Nityanavanavanavayamana. Oh, this is hard word. Who can say it? Nityanavana.
I can try.
Yes, bro.
Nitya
Nava Nava
Navana Tava
Yamana.
Yamana.
Yes, bro. This means that one can go on chanting and hearing about the Lord and never feel tired, but will remain fresh and eager to hear and more. It is the duty of the spiritual master to disclose all confidential subject matter to the inquisitive and sincere disciple. Thus Sukadev Goswami began to explain why the killing of Agasura was not discussed until 1 year had passed. Sukadev Goswami told the king, Now hear of this secret with attention. After having his friends from the mouth of Agasura and after killing the demon, Lord Krishna brought his friends to the bank of Yamuna and addressed them as follows. My dear friends, just see how this spot is very nice for taking lunch and playing on the soft sandy Yamuna bank. You can see how the lotus flowers in the water are beautifully blown and how they distribute their flavor all around. The chirping of the birds along with cooing of the peacocks surrounded by the whispering of the leaves in the trees combine and present sound vibrations that echo one another. And this just enriches this beautiful scenery created by the trees here. Let us have our lunch in the spot because it is already late and we are feeling hungry. Let the calves remain near us, and let them drink water from the Yamuna. While we engage in our lunch taking, the calves may engage in eating the soft grasses that are in the spot. On hearing this proposal from Krishna, all the boys became very glad and said, "Certainly, let us all sit down and here and to take our lunch." Then they let loose the calves to eat the soft grass. Sitting down on the ground and keeping Krishna in the center, they began to open their different boxes brought from home. Lord Krishna was seated in the center of the circle, and all the boys kept their faces toward him. They ate and constantly enjoyed seeing the Lord face to face. Krishna appeared to be the whole of lotus flower, and the boys surrounding him appeared to be its different petals. The boys collected flowers, leaves, or flower. The boys collected flowers, leaves of flowers, and the barks of trees and placed them under their different boxes, and thus they began to eat their lunch. Keeping company with Krishna while taking lunch, each boy began to manifest different kinds of relations with Krishna, and they enjoyed each other's company with joking words. While thus enjoying lunch with his friends, Lord Krishna's flute was pushed within the belt of his cloth, and his bugle and cane were pushed in on the left hand side of his cloth. He was holding a lump of foodstuff prepared with yogurt, butter, rice, and pieces of fruit salad in his left palm, which could be seen through his petal-like finger joints. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who accepts the results of all great sacrifices, was laughing and joking, enjoying lunch with his friends in Vrindavan, and thus the scene was being observed by the demigods from heaven. As for the boys, they were simply enjoying transcendental bliss in the company of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. At that time, the calves that were pasturing nearby entered into the deep forest, allured by the new grasses, and gradually went out of sight. When the boys saw that the calves were not nearby, they became afraid for their safety, and they immediately cried out, "Krishna!" Krishna is the killer of the fear personified. Everyone is afraid of fear personified, but fear personified is afraid of Krishna. By crying out the word Krishna, the boys at once transcended the fearful situation. Out of his great affection, Krishna did not want his friends to give up their pleasing lunch engagement and go searching for the calves. He therefore said, "My dear friends, you need not to interrupt your lunch. Go on enjoying. I am going personally where the calves are." Thus Lord Krishna immediately started to search out the calves in the caves and bushes. He searched in the mountain holes and in the forest, but nowhere could he find them. Okay, Haribol, anyone can continue from this part. Oh, Hare Krishna Prabhu Sundar Pranam Jai Shri Prabhupada.
At that time, at the time when Aghasura was killed, and the demigods were looking on the incident with great surprise, Brahma, who was born out of the lotus flower growing out of the navel of Vishnu, also came to see. He was surprised how little boy like Krishna could act so wonderfully. Although he was informed that the little cowherd boy was the supreme personality of Godhead, he wanted to see more glorified pastime of the Lord. And thus he stole the cows and the cowherd boys and took them to a different place. Lord Krishna, therefore, in spite of searching for the cows, could not find them, and he even lost his boyfriends on the bank of Yamuna, where they had been taking the lunch. In the form of a coward boy, Lord Krishna was very little in comparison to Brahma. But because he is the supreme personality of Godhead, he could immediately understand that all the cows and boys had been stolen by Brahma. Krishna thought, Brahma has taken away all the boys and cows. How can I alone return to Vrindavana? The mothers will be aggrieved. Therefore, in order to satisfy the mother of his friends, as well as to convince Brahma of the supremacy of the personality of Godhead, he immediately expanded himself as the coward boys and cows. In the Vedas, it is said that the supreme personality of Godhead expands himself in so many living entities by his energy. Therefore, it was not very difficult for him to expand himself again into so many boys and cows. He expanded himself to become exactly like the boys who were of all different features, facial and bodily construction, and who were different in their clothing and ornament and in their behavior and their personal activities. In other words, everyone has different tastes. Being individual soul, each person has entirely different activities and behavior. Yet Krishna exactly expanded himself into all the different positions of the individual boys. He also became the crowd, who were of different sizes, colors, activities, etc. This was possible because everything is an expansion of Krishna's energy. In the Vishnu Puran, it is stated, Parasya Brahmana Shakti. Whatever we actually see in the cosmic manifestation, be it matter or the activities of the living beings, living entities, it is simply an expansion of the energy of the Lord. So heat and light are different expansions of fire. Thus, okay, as heat and light are different expansions of fire. Thus, expanding himself as the boys and cows in their individual capacities and surrounded by such expansions of himself, Krishna entered the village of Vrindavana. The residents had no knowledge of what had happened. After entering the village, Vrindavana, all the cows entered their respective cow sheds, and the boys also went to their respective mothers and homes. The mothers of the boys heard the vibration of their flute before their entrance, and to receive them they came out of their homes and embraced them. And out of maternal affection, milk was flowing from their breast, and they allowed the boys to drink it. However, their offering was not exactly to the boys, but to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who had expanded himself into such boys. This was another chance for all the members of Vrindavan to feed the Supreme Personality of Godhead with their own milk. Therefore, Lord Krishna gave not only Yashoda the chance of feeding him, but this time he gave chance to all the elderly gopis. All the boys began to deal with their mothers as usual, and the mother also, on the approach of evening, began to bathe their respective child. Just a second, just a second. Began to bathe their respective childs, decorate them with tilaka and ornaments, and uh, give them necessary. Where am I? Give the necessary food after the day's labor. The cows also, who were away in the pasturing ground, returned in the evening and began to call their respective cows. The cows immediately came to their mothers, and their mothers began to lick the body of the cows. This relation between cows and the gopis with their cows and boys remained unchanged, although actually the original cows and boys were not there. Actually, the cows' affection for their cows and the elderly gopis' affection for their boys causelessly increased. Their affection increased naturally, even though the cows and boys were not their offspring. Although cows and elderly gopis of Vrindavana had greater affection for Krishna than their own offspring. Although, okay, after this incident, their affection for their offspring increased exactly as it did for Krishna. For 1 year continually, Krishna expanded himself as the cows and cowherd boys and was present in the pasturing ground. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's expansion is situated in everyone's heart as the super soul. Similarly, instead of expanding himself as the super soul, he expanded himself as a portion of cows and cowherd boys for one continuous year. Somebody else can also read this paper.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Okay, who's gonna continue from here?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhu, please give me just a minute. I will continue.
Yes, Prabhu. Dandat Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
One day, when Krishna, along with Balaram, was maintaining the calves in the forest, they saw some cow grazing on the top of Govardhana hill. The cows could see down into the valley where the calves were being taken care of by the boys. Suddenly, on sighting their calves, the cows began to run towards them. They leaped downhill with joined front and rear legs. The cows were so melted with affection for their calves that they did not care about the rough path from the top of Govardhan Hill down to the pasturing ground. They began to approach the calves with their milk bags full of milk, and they raised their tails upwards. When they were coming down the hill, their milk bags were pouring milk on the ground. Out of intense maternal affection for the calves, although they were not their own calves, these cows had their own calves, and the calves that were grazing beneath Govardhan Hill were larger. They were not expected to drink milk directly from the milk bag, but were satisfied with the grass. Yet all the cows came immediately and began to lick their bodies, and the calves also began to suck milk from the milk bags. There appeared to be a great bondage of affection between the cows and calves. When the cows were running down from the top of Govardhan Hill, the men who were taking care of them tried to stop them. Elderly cows are taken care of by the men, and the calves are taken care of by the boys. And as far as possible, the calves are kept separate from the cows so that the calves do not drink all the available milk. Therefore, the men who were taking care of the cows on top of the Govardhan hill tried to stop them, but they failed. Baffled by their failure, they were feeling ashamed and angry. They were very unhappy, but when they came down and saw their children taking care of calves, they all of a sudden become very affectionate toward the children. It was very astonishing, although the men came down disappointed, baffled, and angry. As soon as they saw their own children, their hearts melted with great affection. At once, their anger, dissatisfaction, and unhappiness disappeared. They began to show paternal love for the children, and with great affection, they lifted them in their arms and embraced them. They began to smell their children's heads and enjoy their company with great happiness. After embracing their children, the men again took the cows back to the top of Govardhana Hill. Along with the way, they began to think of their children, and affectionate tears fell down from their eyes. When Balarama saw this extraordinary exchange of affection between the cows and their calves, and between the fathers and their children. When neither the calves nor the children needed so much care, he began to wonder why this extraordinary thing happened. He was astonished to see all the residents of Vrindavan so affectionate for their own children, exactly as they had been of Krishna. Similarly, the cows had grown affection for their calves as much as for Krishna. Balaram therefore concluded that the extraordinary show of affection was something mystical, either performed by the demigods or by some powerful man. Otherwise, how would this wonderful change take place? He concluded that this mystical change must be been caused by Krishna, whom Balaram considered the worshipable personality of Godhead. He thought it was arranged by Krishna, and even I could not check its mystic power. Thus, Balaram understood that all those boys and calves were only expansions of Krishna. Balaram inquired from Krishna about the actual situation. He said, "My dear Krishna, in the beginning I thought that all these cows, calves, and cowherd boys were either great sages and saintly persons or demigods, but at the present it appears that they are actually your expansions. They are all you. You yourself are playing as the calves and cows and boys. What is the mystery of this situation? Where have those other calves and cows and boys gone? And why are you expanding yourself as the cows, calves, and boys? Will you kindly tell me what is the cause?" At the request of Balaram, Krishna briefly explained the whole situation, how the calves and boys were stolen by Brahma and how she was concealing the incident by expanding himself so people would not know that the original cows, calves, and boys were missing. When Krishna and Balaram were talking, Brahma returned after a moment's interval, according to the duration of his life. We have information of Lord Brahma's duration of life from the Bhagavad Gita. 1000 times the duration of the 4 ages are 43 lakhs into 1000 comprise Brahma's 12 hours. Similarly, one moment of Brahma is equal to 1 year of solar calculation. After one moment of Brahma's calculation, Brahma came back to see the fun caused by his stealing the boys and calves. But he was also afraid that he was playing with fire. Krishna was his master and he had played mischief for fun by taking away his calves and boys. He was really anxious, so did not stay away very long. He came back after a moment of his calculation. He saw that all the boys, calves, and cows were playing with Krishna in the same way as when he had come upon them. Although he was confident that he had taken them and made them lie down asleep under the spell of his mystic power, Brahma began to think, all the boy calves and cows were taken away by me, and I know they are still sleeping. How is it that a similar batch of cows, boys, and calves are playing with Krishna? It is that they are not influenced by my mystic power. Have they been playing continually for 1 year with Krishna? Brahma tried to understand who they were and how they were uninfluenced by his mystic power, but he could not ascertain it. In other words, he himself came under the spell of his own mystic power. The influence of his mystic power appeared like snow in the darkness. The glow uh, the glow orb in the daytime. During the night's darkness, the glow orb can show some glittering power, and the snow piled up on the top of a hill or on the ground can shine during a daytime, but at night the snow has no silver glitter. Nor does the glow orb have any illuminating power during the daytime. Similarly, when the small mystic power exhibited by Brahma was before the mystic power of Krishna, it was just like the snow or the glow orb. When a man of small mystic power wants to show potency in the presence of the greater mystic power, he diminishes his own influence, he does not increase it. Even a great personality like Brahma, when he wanted to show his mystic power before Krishna, become ludicrous. Brahma was thus confused about his own mystic power. In order to convince Brahma that all those cows, calves, and boys were not the original ones, the cows, calves, and boys who were playing with Krishna transformed into Vishnu forms. Actually, the original ones were sleeping under the spell of Brahma's mystic power. But the present ones seen by Brahma were all immediate expansion of Krishna or Vishnu. Vishnu, the expansion of Krishna, so the Vishnu form appeared before Brahma. All the Vishnu forms were a bluish color and dressed in yellow garments. All of them had hands decorated with cloth, disc, lotus flower, and shell, conch shell. On their heads were glittering golden jeweled helmets. They were bedecked with pearls and earrings and garlanded with beautiful flowers. On their chests was the mark of Srivastava. Their arms were decorated with armlets and other jewelry. Their necks were smooth, just like the conch shell. Their legs were decorated with bells. Their waists were decorated with golden bells, and their fingers decorated with jeweled ring. Brahma also saw that upon the whole body of Lord Vishnu, fresh tulasi buds were drawn, beginning from a lotus feet up to top of the head. Another significant feature of Vishnu forms was that all of them were looking transcendental beautiful. Their smiling resembled the moonshine, and their glancing resembled the yearly rising of the sun. Just by their glancing, they appeared as the creators and maintainers of the modes of ignorance and passion. Vishnu represents the mode of goodness, Brahma represents the mode of passion, and Lord Shiva represents the mode of ignorance. Therefore, as maintainer of everything in the cosmic manifestation, Vishnu is also creator and maintainer of Brahma and Lord Shiva. After this manifestation of Lord Vishnu, Brahma saw that many other Brahmas and Shivas and demigods and even insignificant living entities down to the ants and very small straws, movable and immovable living entities were dancing surrounding Lord Vishnu. Their dancing was accompanied by various kinds of music, and all of them were worshiping Lord Vishnu. Brahma realized that all those Vishnu forms were complete, beginning from the anima perfection of becoming small like an atom, up to becoming infinite like the cosmic manifestation. All the mystic powers of Brahma, Shiva, all the demigods, and the 24 elements of cosmic manifestations were fully represented in the person of Vishnu. By the influence of Lord Vishnu, all subordinate mystic powers were engaged in his worship. He was being worshipped by time, space, cosmic manifestation, reformation, desire, activity, and the three qualities of material nature. Lord Vishnu, Brahma, also realized in the reservoir of all truth, knowledge, and bliss. He is the combination of three transcendental features, namely eternity, knowledge, and bliss. And he is the object of worship by the followers of Upanishads. Brahma realized that all the different forms, the cows, boys, and calves transformed into Vishnu forms were not transformed by mysticism of the type that a yogi or a demigod can display by specific powers invested in him. The cows, calves, and boys transformed into Vishnu Murtis or Vishnu forms were not displays of Vishnu's Maya or Vishnu's energy, but were Vishnu himself. The respective qualification of Vishnu and Vishnu Maya are just like fire and heat. In the heat, there is the qualification of fire, namely warmth, and yet heat is not fire. The manifestation of Vishnu forms of the boys, cows, and calves was not like the heat, but rather the fire. They were all actual Vishnu. Factually, the qualification of Vishnu is full truth, full knowledge, and full bliss. Another example can be given with material objects which are reflected in many, many forms. For example, the sun is reflected in many water pots, but the reflections of the sun in many pots are not actually the sun. There is no actual heat and light from the sun in the pot, although it appears as the sun. But the forms which Krishna assumed were each and every one of one full Vishnu. Satyam means truth, Jnanam, full knowledge, and Ananda, full bliss. Transcendental forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His person are so great that the impersonal followers of the Upanishads cannot reach the platform of knowledge to understand them. Particularly, the transcendental forms of the Lord are beyond the reach of the impersonalists who can only understand through the studies of Upanishads that the absolute truth is not matter and the absolute truth is not materially restricted by limited potency. Lord Brahma understood Krishna and his expansion into Vishnu forms and could understand that due to the expansion of energy of the Supreme Lord, everything movable and immovable within the cosmic manifestation is existing. When Brahma was thus standing baffled in his limited power and conscious of his limited activities within the 11 senses, he could at least realize that he was also a creation of the material energy, just like a puppet. As a puppet has no independent power to dance, but dances according to the direction of the puppet master. So the demigods and the living entities are all subordinate to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As it is stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the only master is Krishna and all others are servants. The whole world is under the waves of the material spell, and beings are floating like straws in water. So their struggle for existence is continuing. But as soon as one becomes conscious that he is the eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this Maya illusory struggle for existence is immediately stopped. Lord Brahma, who was full control over the goddess of learning and who is considered to be the best authority in Vedic knowledge, was thus perplexed, being unable to understand the extraordinary power manifestation in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the mundane world, even a personality like Brahma is unable to understand the potential mystic power of the Supreme Lord. Not only did Brahma fail to understand, but he was perplexed even to see the display which was being manifested by Krishna before him. Krishna took compassion upon Brahma's inability to see even how he was displaying the force of Vishnu in transferring himself into cows and cowherd boys, and thus, while fully manifesting the Vishnu expansion, he suddenly pulled his curtain of Yogamaya over the scene. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not visible due to the curtain spread by Yogamaya. That which covers the reality is Mahamaya, or the external energy, which does not allow a conditioned soul to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead beyond the cosmic manifestation. But the energy which partially manifests the Supreme Personality of Godhead and partially does not allow one to see is called Yogamaya. Brahma is not an ordinary conditioned soul. He is far, far superior to all the demigods, and yet he could not comprehend the display of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, Krishna willingly stopped the manifesting any further potency. The conditioned soul not only becomes bewildered, but he is completely unable to understand. The curtain of Yogamaya was drawn so that would not become more and more perplexed. When Brahma was relieved from his perplexity, he appeared to be awakened from an almost dead state, and he began to open his eyes with great difficulty. Thus, he could see the eternal cosmic manifestation with common eyes. He saw all around him the super excellent view of Vrindavana full with trees, which is the source of life for all living entities. He could appreciate the transcendental land of Vrindavan, where all the living entities are transcendental to ordinary nature. In the forest of Vrindavan, even ferocious animals like tigers and other lives peacefully along with the deer and human beings. He could understand that because of the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Vrindavan, the place is transcendental to all other places, and that there is no lost and great there. Brahma thus found Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, playing the part of a small cowherd boy. He saw that little child with a lump of food in his left hand, sorting out of his friends' cows and calves, just as he was actually doing 1 year before, after their disappearance. Immediately, Brahma descended from his great swan carrier and fell down before Lord, just like a golden stick. The word used among the Vaishnavas for offering respect is Dandavat. This word means falling down like a stick. One should offer respect to the superior Vaishnava by falling down straight with his body just like a stick. The Brahma fell down before the Lord just like a stick to offer respect, and because the complexion of Brahma is golden, he appeared to be like a golden stick, lying down before Lord Krishna. All the four helmets on the heads of Brahma touched the lotus feet of Krishna. Brahma, being very joyful, began to shed tears, and he washed the lotus feet of Krishna with his tears. Repeatedly he fell and rose as he recalled the wonderful activities of the Lord. After repeating obeisances for a long time, Brahma stood up and smeared his hand over his eyes. Seeing the Lord before him, he trembling began to offer prayers with great respect, humility, and attention. Thus ended the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 13th chapter of Krishna, the stealing of the boys and calves by Brahma.
Haribol.
Hari Bol.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Prabhu.
Okay, today we continue with prayers offered by Lord Brahma to Lord Krishna. Now we reach 6th prayers. Haribol.
Prabhu. Sorry, Prabhu, because I was have some work, so I'm not able to attend proper time. Please apologize me.
Sorry for being late today a little bit.
So that particular word you was not able to pronounce it. Nitya Navanavayamanam means ever freshness or ever Navanavayaman is new.
Yes, Prabhu.
Ever freshness. That is the meaning. You that is actually conjugate word, joint word.
Ah,
That is
okay.
not one word. That
That's why
is
it's so long.
joint word too. That's why you are not able to read properly that word.
Is it Nityam Navanavanam?
So Nitya Navanavayamana.
Nityam Navanavayamana. Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Okay, who wants to start?
चेतो
Okay, I'm starting.
दर्पणमार्जनं भवमहादावाग्निर्वापनं श्रेयः कैरवचन्द्रिकावितरणं विद्यावधूजीवनम् आनन्दाम्बुधिवर्धनं प्रतिपदं पूर्णामृतस्वादनं सर्वात्मा स्नपनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्णसङ्कीर्तनम्
नाम्नामकारि बहुधा निज सर्वशक्ति तत्रार्पिता नियमिता स्मरेण काल एतदृशि तव कृपा भगवन् ममापि दुर्दैवम् ईदृशम् इह जानिनानुग्रहम्
Trinadapi Sunishena
Trinadapi
Sarorapi Sahisnuna Manina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari.
नदनं न जन्मं न सुन्दरीं कवितां वा जगदीश कामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भगवद्भक्तिरहितुकी त्वयि
हाँ
हैनन्दातनुजा किङ्करं पतितं मां भीषमे भवाम्बुधो कृपया तव पादपङ्कजस्थिता धूलिसदृशं विचिन्तय
नयनं गलदाश्रुधारया वदनं गद्गद्गरुद्धया गिरा पुलकैर्निचितं वपुकदा तव नामग्रहणे भविष्यति
युगायितं निमेषेण चक्षुषा पार्वेशायितं शून्यायितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दं विरहेण मे
आश्लिष्य वा पादरतां विनस्तु मामादर्शनां मर्महतां करोतु वा यथा तथा वा विदिधातु लम्पटो मत्प्राणनाथस्तु स एव नापरः
Ribo, glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benedictions to the living beings, and you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast words for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy name. But I am so unfortunate that I have no affection for them.
one should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Tremble.
Oh, Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth.
O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet.
O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? And when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name?
Oh, Govinda, fearing your separations, I am considering a moment to get 12 years, like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence.
I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his angels or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipable Lord unconditionally.
Ribol, Sri Siksastakam ki jai.
Jai.
Okay, then the 10 offenses. 10 offenses.
First to blaspheme.
Yes,
So
Prabhu.
can I go? First to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives for propagating the holy name of the Lord.
Ribol.
Second, to consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma to be equal or to be independent of the name of the Lord Vishnu.
To deserve the order of the ceremony, consider him a ordinary puncher.
To blaspheme the Vedic scriptures or scriptures in persons to the Vedic version.
To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be an imagination.
Give some interpretation to the holy name.
Oh, okay. Oh no, I was right.
Seventh one, to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name.
To consider, no, okay, I don't know. No, I know. To consider chanting of the holy names as one of the ritualistic activities stated in the Vedas, Karma Kanda.
Yes,
To
Prabhu.
instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name.
Tends to not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prem. Hare Krishna.
Ribol.
Harinam
Right.
Prabhu ki jai.
यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः
Nanda Gaudiya Vaishnava ki jai, Shla Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Gaura Prem
Jai.
Hare Hare Bol.
Jai.
Very
Hare.